Hello guys, we are into the ninth session of our discussion about the medical research fundamentals, and today's topic will be about the qualitative research methods. First of all, what is the difference between quantitative and qualitative methods? Quantitative methods are based on some numbers, some amount, and qualitative is something that deals with some subjective text matters. And the quantitative methods are objective, measurable, and external to someone, and qualitative methods are those which are subjective, interpreted, and experienced. And the quantitative methods are those that includes testing a formal hypothesis, whereas understanding of some events related or derived from a data is qualitative. And the quantitative data are those that ensures repeatability, and whereas qualitative are those that have the interpretation of responses. And in the quantitative methods, we would be applying some observational methods to different cultures, and whereas in qualitative, it requires conversion of a abstract into some matter of the intercultural categories. When to use these qualitative methods? These qualitative methods are used when we need some deep understanding, and when there are questions arising about why, how, what circumstance events occur. It is used to view some social phenomenon holistically and to use suitable vocabulary which is not available to communicate with the respondents. And in this, we use the subject matter which is unfamiliar or insufficiently researched, and we need to explore and explain the behaviors. And it is used when we need to provide insight into the meaning of divisions and actions. The qualities of this qualitative methods should be that it is interpretative and open-ended, iterative rather than fixed. It should be emergent rather than pre-structured, and the investigator is the instrument and the learner is the co-investigator of the research process, and partnership between the participant and investigator. The examples of these are in-depth interviews, focus group discussions, and participant observation. In-depth interviews are used, that is, when open-ended interviews. It includes that the interviewees discover own framework of meanings, so that to obtain rich contextualized in-depth info. And this is used in this the researcher should avoid imposing some assumptions. Some techniques are to follow interview guide, probes, or in reflecting on remarks made by the informant, and collect respondents' perspective and words, and to level of structure varies. When to use these? It should be used when complex structure matter and knowledgeable respondents are there, and when we are using highly sensitive subject matters, and while dealing with geographically dispersed respondents, and when there is some peer pressure and on an issue that is socially to be considered. Some advantages are that it is the most in-depth thing that can occur, and the data on the thought and conceptualization of the behavior can be seen, and exact words, language of the people can be known, and it is something that is the inside perspective of the participant. And some disadvantages are that it's based on only a few people, and it cannot be used systematically, but it is purposeful or inconvenience samples, and it is not generalizable, and it's time consuming, and the researcher's options of what matter means. Now coming to the focus group discussion, it is also an open-ended group interview, and which promotes the discussion between the participants on a specific group. And here 6 to 8 similar participants will be interviewed at a time. These similar participants will be similar in age, gender, socioeconomic status, education, and they should have same cognitive structures, perceptions of the social environment, and they should have some same normative behavior beliefs. And there should be a moderator and a note taker and flexible interview guide. When to use these are used when there is some group interaction or cost and timing issues are there, or when there is some idea generation and problem identification and definition goal, and when there is to identify local group or specific vocabulary or terminology, and evaluating messages of an intervention. The advantages are that some people who are more comfortable in group setting, natural way for some to tell problems and personal issues in some cultures, and it collects infos on social norms, and it provides a lot of data in limited amount of time. Disadvantages are that it is difficult to access practice of very personal and more sensitive behaviors in group. It is not generalizable, and it's subject to dominant personalities and sensitive to biased analysis. And transcribing time consuming, often 30 to 40 pages each, which is difficult to identify the speakers, and it is analytically challengeable. Now coming to the participant observation. It is that in which the researcher becomes participant in social event or group under study and records observations. Advantages is that data is very deep and detailed, and disadvantages is that it is difficult to collect systematically except in middle of important moment, hard to take notes, so details are forgotten in between, and analytical methods for observing notes are not well described. Qualitative data analysis can be of two types, that is grounded theory and content analysis. Grounded theory is the understanding of data and developing a theory, and content analysis is to start with a theoretical framework and then starting the analysis. And the difference between the two is that the grounded theory, it is the transcript of interviews, and the content analysis is the theoretical framework. In the grounded theory, there is potential analytical categories or themes, and there is coding of text into categories, and we have to build some theoretical models on it, and relationships among the categories are made on. And there are some exemplars like quotes from interviews. And and coming to the content analysis, it is a set of codes for variables in theory which is applied systematically to a set of texts. Unit of analysis by variable matrix from texts and codes, and statistical analysis of matrix, and all these should be transcribed should transcribe a data into a text. And how to use this qualitative methods is important. Like first, it generates a tool for ideas, that is from a qualitative idea is only a quantitative idea is built upon, and that brings about the result. And it helps to understand the result of the quantitative data, as said before. And it is a primary data collection method, like in a survey, when objective of a study is to understand, for example, the behavior practices. First we have to start with the qualitative data and then go on adding upon a quantitative data and then the analysis. There is something called as triangulation, that is understanding same topic from different angles with different perspectives and different data sources. That is, it includes analysis theory, data sources, and methods. For example, in the methods, we learn what is learnt by the degree of convergence. And from the analysis theory, we will know the control or control for selective perception and interpretative bias. And in the data sources we will know the difference, not to the difference in the different data. This is called as triangulation, and there is no single method which will solve the problems of rival explanations, and so this triangulation will help us to be against the systematic biases. How these are useful, it helps to identify the health determinants like underlying behaviors of the people, attitudes, perception, and it helps to shed the light on success of intervention. It helps to facilitate the understanding of policies, social and legal context in which the decisions are made. It explains social and programmatic impediment to informed choices and use of services. And hence the summary of this session is that we have to triangulate things to check a hypothesis, and we have to use comparative advantages of qualitative and quantitative methods, and in the qualitative methods we have to use the best one to explore or to ask why and seek in-depth understanding. That's all with today's session of the day, and the next session will be on measurement of study variables. Stay tuned to get more info on the research fundamentals. Thank you.